Yes, Doug Lemov, Teach Like a Champion is the book that you wrote. Can you tell me a little bit about the idea of why did you write this book?
Yeah, so the idea behind the book was to study champion teachers who get positive outlier effects. One, I thought it was important to honor them, and I think teaching to me is the most important job in society, and the idea that everyone would be equally good at it is impossible. It's such complex, difficult work. So the first thing that I wanted to do was who are the people who are amazing, who are positive outliers at this work? Let's study them and honor them. And I want, every time I bring a video camera into the classroom, I want it to be a statement of you are so good at what you do, we should film you. Because teachers spend all their, they rarely have adult interaction, right? They're in a room with classrooms and no one knows what they do and honors them. So one, let's honor them. Two, then if we know that what they do in that classroom is incredibly valuable, from an individual perspective, it can make other classrooms great, or from a social perspective, it can make our school system better. Let's then honor them by studying them and describing what they do, what all these great teachers have in common. Let's describe it in technical vocabulary so other people can do it too. I was talking to Flora, who's a student, and I was asking her the question, would you rather be in a class with 100 kids and your favorite teacher, or your least favorite teacher with 10 kids, right? It's a question about class size, because we spend a lot of time on class size. Class size, reducing class size is expensive, and she said, I'd rather be in a classroom with 100 kids and my favorite teacher, right? So that tells you that if we can take the things that teacher does and we can make them more accessible to more teachers, then we can have more great classrooms, and kids would choose that. Yeah.
I think this is a bit the difference between your book and the other tons of hundreds and thousands of literature that exists about teaching. You really try to go from the perspective of a teacher, trying to show other teachers what they do instead of sort of having a theoretical approach to what many other books do.
Yeah, my wife tells me I'm literal and granular. I don't think she means that as a compliment, but I think that's what I try to do with teaching, which is let's get down to the brass tacks, to the very specific details that cause me to be successful, and let's study what teachers actually do. So, I was thinking about, as we were talking, that it's a book and videos, it's a package of book and videos together, and in part you understand the concept from reading the book, but then you have to see teachers doing it and roll back the video and watch again. What is her facial expression? What is her body language when she says that? And then the next step, which isn't in the book, is then videotape yourself and your colleagues and study. You learn what you're looking at in the classroom by studying it in granular detail, and then you understand what's happening to you in the classroom.
I was going to talk about the videos. There's about a couple hundred videos, meanwhile, as far as I know. I've seen 3 or 4. You've presented 2 or 3 here at the press conference. There was one particular video that I found interesting, which was about a teacher trying to show his kids how handouts are to be put forward instead of teaching, as you named it at that time, instead of teaching how the Civil War began. Can you quickly explain that, why this was so important, and that the teacher did teach about the Civil War just later?
Yeah, that's right. So the video is about developing systems and routines in the classroom, right? And systems and routines are really important for several reasons. One, they're efficient, right? And so if I can save a minute every time we pass out papers and collect papers in the course of, how many times do I do that? And let's say in the course of a day, I pass out and collect papers 10 times in the course of the day. And so that's 50 times a week, or times 50 weeks in school. We're talking about this is 2,500 times that I would be passing out and collecting papers. If I can save a minute every time I do that, that's 2,500 minutes I now have to spend talking about the Civil War. So it's an investment in time. But also, when I have routines in the classroom, I signal to students that I'm prepared and that we have a way of doing things, and that your time here is important, and that shapes the culture of the classroom as well. And when those things become habits for students, they can do them without thinking about them. And so instead of thinking about the procedures of they're thinking about the Civil War. Their working memory is more focused on teaching. And so it turns out that routines and habits and like that are really, really important. It's one of the commonalities across great classrooms. So this video that you're describing is a teacher on the first day explaining to his kids how to pass out papers, how to collect them. Actually, they have a great time doing it. The kids really they kind of like this. So they're happy to know how to do things well and to have someone tell them that he cares about how well they do it. But in the end, he's like just winning this battle of shaping culture and honoring their time and giving them more time back to study the Civil War. Yeah.
Basically, a lot seems to be about a happy kid, happy pupils, trying to get the pupils to work with you as a teacher. And you have really it seems to me like there's many little things, little tools that you offer in this book that make such an immense difference.
Yeah, little things have big muscles. Sometimes I like to show a picture of like Minnie Mouse. Like a very tiny things can change everything. What can change everything in a classroom? One of my favorite techniques is called what to do, and it's just about giving good directions. And we spend a lot of time talking to teachers about all the things that go wrong when you don't tell students, when you're not really clear with students about what the task is. They're not clear on the task, they don't do it correctly, you're not aware that they weren't clear, so then you get mad at them, right? And then they're mad at you for being mad at them, and it actually all starts with just taking the time to script your directions so they're very clear, and then watching to see whether kids follow through. So papers out, guys? Or notebooks out on your desk, that's a better, notebooks out on your desk. Now I just show them that I'm looking so they see that I care. Great, thank you. Let's begin, right? Just quality of directions is a game changer. It's so mundane, but it's so important. Can I say one other thing about just what you were asking about? People think that kids don't want order in the classroom, that if the classroom is orderly, that they will feel infringed, that their individuality will come out less. What happens when a classroom is disorderly is not an explosion of individualism and expression for students. Right? There's always authority in the classroom. The question is whose authority, and if it's not yours, it means it's some random selection of students in the classroom. And even if it's like, okay, you call on me and I can't really say something serious because I know everyone's just gonna be silly and they're gonna laugh, like that's fun for a day or two. But in the end, kids know that like you don't take them very seriously if the classroom isn't about learning. And I actually think the kids are much happier in the long run in a classroom that honors them and lets them speak truthfully about things that matter in a way that, so many kids are asked to say things in classrooms where the body language of their peers is like, I don't care what you're saying right now. So who speaks the truth in an environment like that? And the answer is no one. And so then we get classrooms where no one is thinking their hardest because the classroom environment does not support learning.
All this has to do with the bigger idea of equality, of giving everybody the same chances. Here in Austria, we have the problem that we inherit the education of the parents. It seems like this is a scientific proven fact, as a matter of fact. So doctors will produce doctors and workers will produce workers. Is this, or is your toolkit that you offer perhaps another way of breaking up the situation that we've seen for the past decades, actually?
Yes, I mean, to me, it's about equality of opportunity, which is everyone deserves to go to a school that gives them the opportunity to become the person that they want to be. That if they're willing to work hard, right? If they're willing to work hard, school should create any opportunity for them. And I do think if you look at the data sets that I was talking about there, like there is, I don't see how it's sustainable for a democracy when everyone doesn't have equality of opportunity. So yes, this is about creating opportunity for everyone so that everyone has a full chance at success. And I think it starts in our schools.
You compare teachers in your book to artists.
Yeah.
So artists have to know what they do, how to do it, hoping that someone will sort of see the bigger thing that they try to get into their artwork. But also artists have to know their tools. They have to be able to work with their tools. How would these tools that you offer the teachers in your book, how should these tools get to the teachers? Is it their own responsibility to sort of say, okay, now I know Doug Lemov has got the book out, I have to get the book, or would you rather consider or prefer an institutional way of showing this to teachers? So what is your approach on that part?
I think both work. I think that One of the most challenging things is being what I would call a teacher on an island, right? I'm a lone teacher in a school and I'm trying to do this, and it's very challenging, and it's strange for the kids because suddenly I am cold calling you in my classroom, and I call on you whether you raise your hand or not, and no one else in the school building does that. It's much easier if a group of us are doing it at the same time and the expectations are similar across classrooms, and P.S. I'm a teacher and I can talk to other teachers. I think about these tools as problem-solving tools, which is teachers are faced with constant challenges in the classroom. I want to give them tools not only to solve their problems, but to be able to talk to a vocabulary to talk to each other about the challenges. And so if I'm doing this with a group of colleagues in my school, then I have people who I can problem solve with together, and we're likely to get better together. I think one of the least understood things about the teaching profession is what a lonely job it is. For the most part, you have very little, you close the door and you do what you do by yourself in a classroom all day. And I played sport growing up, especially team sport, and there's always a joy in team for me. And so one of my goals, I think, is to make teaching a team sport where we get together, we watch video together, we practice together, we practice techniques together, and we laugh and we have a fun time, but we're also learning. And after the lesson, we have vocabulary to talk about what happened. Was this the right decision? Why or why not? And then we get better faster, but we're connected, and that makes me enjoy teaching more and stay in teaching longer, I think.
One word here in Austria that I get to hear very often when I talk to teachers, this one word is called frustration. Yeah. Frustration about the situation in the classroom, about the school system, about politics, politicians, etc., and so on and so forth. Would you have an offer for those colleagues that are about to leave classroom because they don't want to be in the system anymore, because they're frustrated, because they have no more power, or probably in burnout, so whatever there is there a way or something you could tell them to still stay, keep on going, probably use your techniques, and change something for them to the better?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So first of all, please stay. You do the most important work in the world. But I think the frustrations of the system strike you more when you're not sure you're successful at the end of every day. Then all of a sudden you worry about, like, is the system working? But if you're able to create a classroom that changes the lives of 30 students every day, and you, at the end, you can see in their faces and you know that their lives are changing, that's why people take the job. And I think in the end, one of the gifts of teaching is you have a very small universe that you control and you shape, and it's 30 kids and it's you and them every day, and that is, that is enough. Like, that is a great thing to accomplish in life, and if you can do that, and I think you can through teaching techniques, then I think all of the sort of noise around you in the system bothers you less, feels like it's less of a problem if you know that you're winning with your 30 kids every day. So I would just say, like, start there. Start with those 30 kids and win every day.
Yeah, the last question that I really would like to ask, I think it was really important to figure out or to express again the difference between teacher quality and teaching quality. I think this is a massive distinction, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I would love it if if all of the best and the brightest wanted to be teachers. Fantastic. Let's get the best chemists in the country to be high school chemistry teachers. But those people are in incredible demand, right? They can make 3 times what they're making. So let's get as many of them as we can. But let's be prepared to succeed with everyone that we get and make those people successful. So first of all, I think a lot of the chemists who come to the classroom are not especially successful because they don't know how to handle a room full of 30 skeptical 16-year-olds, right? I've seen that teacher crash out of the profession who should be gold because of their knowledge, but is not. And then there are people who are not world-class chemists, but are willing to take their shot at teaching, and we need to make both of those groups successful. And that, to me, is the difference between teacher quality, which is like, who within the broader economy are we attracting to teaching? And teaching quality is, how do we take who we have and make them better every day at the fundamental interactions of teaching? And I think the people who do teaching now, I love them, I'm grateful for them, and I think that we should be able to do significantly better by those people. We should be able to make them more successful and feel more successful and have greater outcomes with the people that we have now in the teaching profession.